the Shining Icons I on Great Order. This is the First Acolyte Fovorobos, and we are today on our last episode of second season. We have Varrick the Bard from Bardcity. Hello, how are you doing?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm great. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. I really want to get to know you and the band with
Yeah,
you.
no worries at all. Uh,
But before we can get started on that subject, I'm sure that everyone has a lot of questions. But before that, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? Where do you live?
yeah. So my name, my real, not my superhero name. My real name is Pat, and I live in. We all live either in. Most of us live in Baltimore, Maryland. Some of us
Okay.
live down in Virginia, uh, and we basically started this band about a year ago at a LARP. Uh, and we did this because we found out that the king was going to uh, we sorry, hold on. Bardcity is a D&D fantasy folk band that started about a year ago. And we've been bouncing around and having a ton of fun. We just released our first album last Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's on Spotify. So if you guys want to give that a listen, please do. And it's basically a band that's supposed to be about good vibes and having a good old time. Um, Maybe not necessarily the most sensible uh, people in the world, but it's all about just having a blast and partying and all that stuff. Really trying to emulate the rock and roll lifestyle, but bardic and fantasy.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and it's while the band is kind of its own thing now, it started out at a LARP and where
So
we
you guys
just
knew each other before that, or you met
yes.
there? Okay.
Yeah, we actually had been LARPing together for like at this point like Onion, one of our guitar players, he actually was a buddy of mine from high school, and
Mm,
one of our drummers is a guy who I've been tight with since kindergarten. Um,
okay.
and but we had been LARPing since high school, really, back in like
Okay.
2008, and so we'd been doing this for a while. But we used to actually like genuinely like, go out with the foam sticks and actually hit each other and stuff. Um, we moved away from that especially during the pandemic when
Makes sense.
like it made obviously like everything shut down. You
Yeah.
can't go out and do nerd stick fighting anymore, reasonably so. Uh but like I remember distinctly sitting in quarantine and being like, man, all I want to do right now is be dressed funny with like a metal cup full of some tasty beer and either listening to trad music or playing it myself.
Okay.
And once the world opened up again, um, we set out to go do that. And our old game, unfortunately, kind of blew up in a giant drama bomb. Uh, and
Why?
uh, listen, I don't really know.
Okay.
I the trouble is LARP gets very toxic when it moves entirely online because you forget there's the real
Oh.
people there. And so I remember going into the Facebook group being like, oh, I wonder what's going on, when if there's going to be any events planned, and there's just flame war. I don't know where it's going, I don't know where it's coming from. I had no context, so I was like, all right, back up, this don't involve me. And when I talked to other guys who used to play the same game I did, when we were on the search for another game to go play, they were like, so you knew everything blew up, right? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, do you know why? And I was like, no. And he was like, probably for the better. It's
Okay.
not gonna improve your life at all by just understanding the how lame it all really was. um so we went off on the hunt to go find a new game, and so it was me, Onion, and Franciel, who are named Joe and Steve IRL. We went off to a game called Darkon, which is a game that's been going around in like the Maryland area
Hmm.
for a long time, like since the 80s.
Oh, wow.
And but we had never played it before because we were kind of like iffy about the leveling and the magic system,
Hmm.
because the other game we used to play, you died because you got hit by a sword or hit by an arrow. Like that's why you died.
Okay.
This, like a beanbag, could fall at your feet, and it's a fireball, and then you're dead too. And we were like, not so certain about that. We were hesitant, but because they have all this magic in it, it was one of those things. The story could be so much better. Um, and like we literally get to our first camp out. Like it's just the three of us, and we happen to just perfectly time with the biggest event they have of the year, which is Bellum, which happens around May. So last year's Bellum in 2022 was our first event going up, and we
Okay.
had not even set up our tent. By the way, it's a 5-day camp out on a winery, which is awesome.
Wow.
And which is not, that's also like child's play for like LARP events. Like some of them get to like 2 weeks long.
Yeah.
But so we're like not even setting up our tents. We're not in garb yet. We're not dressed up or anything like that. And some guy dressed as a pirate with a fake bird on his shoulder and an eye patch just walks up to us and says, "Hey, you look like you're looking for a quest." And he gives us 4 gold doubloons. It's like, "Meet us at the tavern. We're fighting a kraken tonight." I'm like, yeah, cool. This is awesome. We haven't even been here for 15 minutes.
If only getting a quest was so easy in general.
Right. Like I wish somebody would dress up as a pirate, like while I'm like walking around like my neighborhood, and so just drop like, "Here are 3 cursed gold pieces. I need you to deliver this to somebody." All right, cool. But yeah, so that's from there, we were like just learning how the game works, and learning how things function and all that stuff. And we learned that like there's a story that kind of connects everything together. So it's not just
Okay.
like show up to a park, beat the hell out of each other, and zip. Like there is like impacts, like things done on Thursday impact Friday, and things done on Sunday impact the next event. And like that was something I'd never seen before, which was pretty cool. But one thing that we did is we brought all our instruments because we're like, we're not going to fight. We're just going to bard. That's all we want to do.
And was that allowed? Like, was part of the LARPing
Yeah,
where
yeah.
they have a dynamic for that?
Yes, there is a bard class
Mm-hmm.
which lets you give buffs to people who are
Mm-hmm.
going off and fighting. It's not so great for fighting yourself, but I got no interest in that, so I didn't mind. I was just like
So
sitting.
you were just following around people, boosting them for the fights.
Pretty much, yeah. And it turns out we were doing like, the first event, we were doing it all wrong. We had to have like a spell book that was approved by like the spell marshal. I was just going like, "Do you need bardic inspiration?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, sure." And I'd be like, "Your hat looks amazing today."
And by
um
the way, your hat looks amazing
oh,
today. He
thank
was
you.
just getting it before we started the live, and it's really pretty.
But yeah, so like but that's what we thought it was, and you're totally wrong, but it didn't matter. um but so like we just basically one night we just posted up at the tavern, which was over by like it was at a winery, so they had a tasting room for the wine that was owned, uh that was being sold there. And
Okay.
we stayed up till about like 2 a.m. and I just got like my tin whistle and my bagpipes, and we're just chilling out. And like it's a bunch of us just singing songs and sea shanties and all sorts of other stuff until like way late at night. And it was a blast. It was exactly what I wanted. I just wanted a mug full of some sort of alcohol, everyone dressed funny and singing funny tunes. That's And I was like, "Wait, this is it. We've done it." So we'd actually rehearsed a couple songs together, the three of us. And fast forward to the next night, we get hired. But we make a ton of gold that night.
Nice.
There is an in-game currency, but it's like we made like 250 gold, the three of us. And it turns out it's one of those things where it's like 10 gold buys a mercenary all day. So that's
Wow.
like a month's worth of fighting.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
did you spend all that in 5 days, 4 days
Oh, well, you get to keep it.
for the next time?
You get to keep it for the next time. Exactly.
Nice.
We've recently bought a warship that we don't, since none of we don't fight. So we bought a warship with our gold, and then we brought it over to our country, and we sank it in the desert, and we're turning it into a casino. Um,
Oh, maybe it was your idea as the head of tourism.
yeah, exactly. You got to get people in the door. Um,
And if you don't have a sea, you have a casino.
right, exactly. We don't have an ocean. We are in the middle of the desert, so we have an oasis. It's a little lake, so just scuttle it in there, and then we're good to go. So we made like 200 gold, and we're like, what do we do with this? And somebody's like, listen, if you play tomorrow night for us, I'll pay you another 200. And I'm like, cool, absolutely, hell yeah, because we're broke, we don't have any money. We didn't realize that we actually had a lot of money. And so the next day, there's a barda competition, a lot of fun, we had a good time with that. But the guy organizing it, who's paying us, is like, by the way, there's going to be a band playing tonight. And I'm like, oh, I wonder who that is. Are they going to play before or after us? And then I realized that was the first time we'd ever been referred to as a band.
Wow.
Because otherwise we were just guys with instruments, you know?
Yeah.
And so like that was our first night playing. But what's really great about this particular game, and what I think is like the quintessential like experience that I got from especially this first event, it turns out, so back in high school, I was the president of the chainmail club.
Okay.
I was really fucking cool in high school. And the faculty member who oversaw it all was one of the guy, like the 10 guys who started this game back in the 80s.
Oh wow.
So I sent him a text because I still kept in touch with him after I graduated, because he's a good dude. I sent him a text basically, hey, we're playing your game finally. Like, you've been trying to get us to do this for a while. And he's like, all right, cool, I'm gonna give you a quest. It's like, oh sweet, another quest. We had already got the pirate quest, we're getting another one. He's like, all right, I need you to find King Alfred. Turns out it was an old buddy of his.
Okay.
And you need to go tell him that Kelnor says hi. Kelnor was his old character name. He hadn't played in years. And then the second part of that quest was not to drink too much mead. So during the week, I had like gotten some information, like figured out what the guy looked like. He's like 6'6", so he's like, you could spot him a mile away. But I kept running into him when he was like not in character, like he wasn't in garb. He was like wearing like street clothes. And I was like, I'm not going to fulfill this quest like that. No, you can't do that.
No.
So the night we're playing our gig, it's a casino night. It's a gambling night. So people are gambling with like, I say it's fake versus real currency. Fake currency on the first floor, as in just that event. Like it doesn't transfer over. It's just like that night. You walk in, they hand you a stack of chips, and then when you leave, you give them back, and like it doesn't matter. But upstairs, well, that's where the high rollers are. That's where they're playing with real, fake game gold, you know. And
the one you get to keep.
Yeah, and the king was hanging out up there. So I was like, all right, cool. I need to go talk to him. But the next day was a big king's battle. Someone was gunning for the crown, which meant all night there were assassins about. And I didn't know that. So I start walking up the stairs. This guy with a full orc latex mask walks up to me, puts his hand on my chest and says, "You're not on the list." I'm like, what the hell? What is going on here? And I'm like, no, I need to talk to King Alfred. It's like, sure you do, buddy. Like, I don't know who you are. You're brand new here. Like, I was like, no, it's very important. It's very important. And finally, some drunk lady kind of like leans her head out the window on the second floor and goes, "He's a bard. He's harmless. Let him in."
What can he do?
And so they pat me down for weapons. They escort me upstairs and they pass me off to a bodyguard who then walks me to the corner where the king and his posse are sitting. And I see the king in very plain clothes, just like a regular green tunic and like a hood. And then I see a guy sitting right next to him wearing this very fancy doublet, crown, gold chains, big fat ring, you know. And the bodyguard points at that guy and says, "That's the king." And I say, "No, it's not." Like, this game's not that big. Like, everyone knows. And he says, all right, fine. And finally the king says, what do you want? And I say, I get down on one knee, I make like a big deal of it, and I say, I have a message from you, from Kelnor. Kelnor says, hi. And he says, Kelnor. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. How's Paul doing? He's doing great, you know? So we started chatting and all that stuff and like just hanging out and hearing old war stories and all that. I explained how I knew my high school teacher, and they
Mhm.
explained other stories about him in game. And he's like, well, it's not like him to only have one part of a quest. Was there a second part of that quest? And he said, yeah, not to drink too much mead. And he pulls out like this gallon jug and he's like, want help failing that? And I was like, yes, sir.
He knew.
Right. You can't turn down a king. No way.
Of course, especially in that night where everyone is so tense.
Right, exactly. So we had a great time. And that was like the quintessential like introduction, just kind of thrown right into the deep end because I'm dealing with assassins and
I mean,
bodyguards and
directly with the king. How many can say that?
right, exactly. I mean, it's not that big of a game, so a lot of people. I mean, yeah, there's thousands of us. I got crazy clout, man. You know. Uh, but yeah, so that's from there. On the drive back, we had a ton of fun, and me and Onion, the guitar player, both carpool together, and we're just like,
Mhm.
what if we just started a band? Because he had actually just finished his final show with his old band, because like half his bandmates were moving up to Boston. So 7 hours one way for band practice is a little bit difficult.
Yes.
So we're like, you're not doing anything. I've never been in a real band outside of high school before. Um, and we just kind of started writing music. And what the first
Wow.
song that we wrote was the first song we wrote was called Monster Girls, which is about all the monster girls we've ever dated, but we kind of haven't finished that one yet. Um,
I want to listen to that song.
we're gonna get it done. It's just like one of those things where it's like we're trying to thread this needle of like not trying to lean too hard into the horny bard,
Okay.
um, because we're trying to keep it wholesome, but it's also gross. It's fun. I like it very much.
It sounds hard, especially with that name.
Yeah, so we're trying to working on it. We're working on it. But the second song we ever wrote was "The Power of Friendship," which is the name of our latest album.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the quintessential vibe for us, where it's just like goofy, but D&D humor that is just um D&D humor that is out there. And
Hmm.
everyone who's played tabletop RPGs long enough knows that like you're gonna find a situation where it's like, yeah, we're buddy buddy and all that stuff, and we're so great, and we're gonna solve this problem by beating it to death with a big rock.
Yeah, yeah, that happens a lot.
Right. Um,
So you
so
mentioned three of you,
yes,
but the band has, if I'm not mistaken, 7 or 6 members?
7 total. Yes,
7.
much bigger. And we have basically been adding to it over the years, or not over the years, over the year up. Because we realized we wanted a little bit of a bigger sound. So, um, unfortunately, Franciel, the mayor of Bardcity, his wife couldn't make the original camp out that we went to, where this all
Hmm.
kind of started.
Hmm.
Um, but she plays accordion, so she's the accordion player that we have in the band.
Yeah.
And so we added her, and then we added another guitar player, and that's the one we started really starting to write some music. So we added Winters, who plays it's like a guitar with like the big round bottom. It's actually a Ukrainian kobza. um
Okay.
and so we added him, and then soon after that we added our 2 drummers, uh Addie and Sirach. And the band, by the way, is all part of the city council for Bardcity. So we all
Makes
have
sense.
jobs that we have to do. So like I'm the head of the board of tourism. Our ballroom player, the Irish hand drum, he's the mayor of Bardcity. Guitar player is the treasurer of Bardcity. He also helps handle he handles the band finances, which is very nice because he's had a lot of experience being in bands before. Um, and so he knows how it all works. I don't know anything about this stuff.
I
Um,
let him take care of it.
I'm learning as we go, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Um, but so he's the treasurer and also the IRL treasurer. Then
Okay.
Winners, who plays the Kabza, he's the CEO, but he's not the chief executive officer. He's the chief escape officer. So if anything goes bad, he's like got a plan just to get the hell out of there.
You have to have that.
Right, absolutely. Especially when you're unarmed bards. We don't fight. So like,
You never fight.
we don't fight. We just
It's
solve all
only bards.
we're only bards.
How do you do that? You always like have mercenaries or
Well, we've got one guy who's the head of security. And he just shows up armed to the teeth, but we mostly just try to diplomacy our way out of anything.
oh, okay.
But I'm gonna put a pin in that because we
Okay.
did get invaded by the biggest, baddest army in the game. And we'll come back to that. It's a fun
All
story.
right.
And so then we have Sirach, who is the secretary of sex appeal, because we need that in a city of bards, you know.
Is that the shirtless person on
Yes,
the
yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah,
figured.
it kind of just goes you know, without saying. Because like we were like, Casey, you hate wearing a shirt. He's like, yeah. I was like, well, do you want to not wear a shirt and LARP with us? Yes, because Casey had actually LARPed with me in a unit where we were LARPing like Last Airbender.
Okay.
So we had like
The recent game that came out or something you guys
no,
did?
this was kind of a spun up sort of offshoot of our this was years and years ago. And he had a ton of fun, but he hadn't had a chance to come back yet. So this was like, hey, you don't have to wear a shirt if you show up to the game. And he's like, absolutely. Like we had an event like October. It was very, very cold, like below freezing, and he's just rocking like kilt, no shirt, and then like a Game of Thrones style fur cape, and that was it.
That's a good plan actually. That's
It's a good look. It was a great look. And then we have Addy, who's the intern. He's the eternal intern. One day we will promote him, maybe, but he makes the coffee.
right.
So yeah, that's the seven of us. That's the and we've all LARPed together before.
Okay.
And that's how most of us met. Some of us, like Casey and Joe and Steve, are friends of mine from years and years ago. And Winners and Addy I met through LARP. And so that's where that all kind of started. But it's all very well good. It's a lot of fun. We're having a ton of fun with this project, and like it's getting us into places that I wasn't expecting it would, especially this early.
I so want to get to that. However, I would like to ask one of the questions we have in the chat so I don't lose it on the comments.
Absolutely.
All right, there you go. So Lusumbra, she wants to know, do you prepare your songs before a game session or do you improvise?
We do prepare. So we prepare like all of our songs, but like we work hard to like actually write. But we do have songs that when we go and perform a show, we will have a big inflatable D20. And we have yes, yeah, and we have songs that the chorus changes depending on the role. So it's like multiple verses where like the first verse is you're trying to like get this like convoluted heist, and you have to roll to see if the heist works.
Okay.
So, and if it's a success, if it's a success, it goes, and I can't believe that worked. And if it's a failure, it's like, and it didn't fucking work. Oh wait, shoot, am I allowed to swear on this stream?
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, cool. And it didn't fucking work. And so, and of course, if we roll a nat 20, we lose our minds, and it goes, and that really fucking works. And the chorus will change to be good or bad. So like when
Okay.
one verse is all about, asking the princess out, you're trying to woo the princess and go elope. And like if you succeed, then you succeed, you wooed the princess and she's gonna run away with
Nice.
you.
Okay.
But if you fail, she rejects you, you get arrested. And
Oh, arrested. It's not
yeah.
just brokenhearted. It's
Oh, no, no,
arrested.
no. The king will not allow that because you're just some dumb bard, you know?
Yeah, makes sense.
So you get captured by the guards. She goes off and marries some other asshole. Uh yeah, it's
Okay.
devastating.
That's so sad.
But so while we do prepare those in advance, we don't know what we're going to be singing that day
You roll the die.
until we roll. We can't know until the die is rolled. So
Yeah.
and we've got a couple songs like that. We have a song called Death Rolls, which is like death saving throws, where we actually do like the 5e style. You have to do 3 successes and 3 fails to decide whether you live or die.
Okay.
And
And
each
it's
roll,
one person that rolls or three?
yeah, we get a volunteer from the audience to come and roll.
Okay.
And so it depending on if we live or die, then it's like, it ends with like, I'm dead, I'm so dead. And then we've got another song where Onion falls in love with a mimic,
Okay.
whose main form is a bar stool. But Onion is very not perceptive.
I watched that video,
Oh yeah,
a clip
yeah,
on Instagram a few days ago, and I wasn't sure if that was part of a LARP or something else, but
yeah,
it was very, very funny.
yeah. That was last weekend. That was at the biggest event for that game a year
Hmm.
later.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and that was, yeah. So the song goes like, if we roll well, if you're able to persuade him, hey, that's just a chair. That's not a mimic, dude. He like totally breaks down and he's like, oh my god, I took that chair to a baseball game. I introduced that chair to my parents. So it just so happened to be that particular night it was a failure. So he's like, no way, no way. That's absolutely just a regular chair. Or sorry, that's a mimic, and we're in love. And how dare you?
How dare you question our love?
Mm-hmm. So at the end, yeah, it's just like, I guess if he's happy, he's happy. He's not hurting anybody. But I'm not
I
gonna
mean,
sit. In,
it's a mimic. I don't know. I wouldn't
right,
be so sure.
I'm not gonna sit in the chair.
All right.
um.
So I have so many follow-up questions to
Oh,
what you have said so
please,
far.
please. Sorry, I've
Um,
been rambling.
don't worry. So let's go first with, I'd say, LARPing. So I
Okay.
have several questions. But first of all, this event that you mentioned that they have like this game that you have, or they have a big event every year.
Mhm.
Do they also have other events throughout the year?
Yes.
All
So
right, that's
that's
cool.
that's the big 5-day camp out. But the game keeps going, and pretty much every 2 weeks we meet up at a public park, which is a
Oh,
great scene for anyone who's not aware of what's going on. Because it'll
wow.
be like 100 of us maybe, all dressed in garb, and like it's not so great for bards. It's mostly for fighting. So you show up, you hit each other, you have a good old time, and we're mostly just kind of like we use it as a chance to like if it's a nice day, you sit at the park, you bring your ukulele, you strum a couple tunes, and you just hang out with your buds. But throughout the year, there'll be smaller campouts where it's just like Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Hmm.
and uh, and of course, in October of every year, there's Feast, which is a lot of fun. It's a little bit pricier because they give you a full catered meal.
Oh,
They rent
wow.
out like a campsite that has cabins because it's cold. Um, and it's just a blast. It's a total that so like you have Feast in the fall and Bellum in the spring where like the two big story beats happen. Excuse me.
Okay.
But like in between then there's like all sorts of like smaller campouts and day events and otherwise like people can uh like role play in the Discord to be like, hey, by the way, we're kind of forming an alliance with this country over here. Or
Oh,
hey,
okay.
we're gonna get we're gonna trade with these guys over here, or hey, we're gonna declare war on so and so. Um,
Yeah, when you mentioned that you moved everything online because of the pandemic, I
mm,
wasn't sure what you meant.
mm, mm. um, like this game did fairly well. My old game did not. This game basically shifted all of the live action role playing and just had a pseudo D&D game, but they
Oh,
just played
okay.
it over Discord.
Makes sense.
Um, and it was just a way of keeping people, hey, the game still exists, but we can't meet up, so let's meet up online. We're all bored. So that's how they function. Now, of course, I wasn't there for any of that, but it works fairly well. Meanwhile, my old game, everyone just kind of got in fights with each other.
I mean, makes sense. Everyone got so stressed with the pandemic. It's not our
Right,
time.
right. And again, you kind of forget when you don't see the people for a year, you kind of forget that they're not just
People.
usernames, they're real people, and you
Yeah.
should remember
Yeah.
that. But you know, not my place to really dig into. But whatever.
Yeah. No,
Um,
don't worry.
but a lot of LARPs just basically shifted their entire game to playing D&D online.
That
So when the
makes complete sense. I don't know what I imagined when you mentioned that.
oh yeah, yeah, it's just like a way of just blowing some steam and all that good stuff.
Mhm.
But one thing about these games is some of them have land maps, which are just like,
Okay.
big fantasy maps where you have hexes that you claim like
Hmm.
different areas as your country, your group's territory. Um, Now Bard City has a country in the game, and it's run terribly because we don't have anyone who's actually any serious. We focus all of our resources entirely on partying. We have no defenses. We've got no way of generating resources because the moment we generate a resource, we're throwing another festival. Um, it's just it's the way of that's the way it is. That's how we
Sounds
live
like
our
a group of
lives.
bards. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
So when you mention Bardcity as the
mhm.
place, not the band, you're mentioning or you're referring to this map in the place that you
Yes,
claimed as your land.
yes, and
Why a desert?
Las Vegas, baby.
Okay, that's the goal.
Yeah, I mean,
Sounds
just
good.
we're either gonna set up like on the coast and like this sort of tropical. We also wanted to be kind of far away from any other country because we
Well,
are
if you don't have
defenseless.
an army, yeah, makes
Right.
sense.
So like if somebody did want to just roll us, they absolutely could. And there's nothing we could have done about it. So we were kind of like separating ourselves from the rest of the map. And so we were either thinking desert for like Las Vegas style vibes of like casinos and mafias and all that stuff. And then or either like the southern coast and like very like Miami or like tropics,
Hmm.
one or the other, and we ended up going with the desert. And of course, when I mentioned like the all of this, it's all flavor text. Like there's no real game mechanic for how do you start a mafia. It's just like
Okay.
a bunch of people get together and say, you know what? I've got a lot of money and I'm gonna lend that out. And if you don't pay it back, I'm gonna go break your knees. And it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, go for it, man. So because you can just be whatever you want. So yeah, we basically just try to like throw parties in the game and all that stuff, which is always a lot of fun, which has endeared a lot of people to us in the game. Um,
All right,
so
just to be clear, when you say in the game, you're referring to the LARP
the LARP,
where you
yes,
use this map. It's not
yes,
a tabletop RPG also,
no,
it's
no,
only LARP.
it's only LARP.
Okay, okay.
Um, yes, I think we're planning on doing a Kickstarter for our next album, like sometime in the fall.
Okay.
Um, and once we do that, we're gonna think about doing like a sort of like fundraising one shot where we would play D&D. Um,
Nice.
but but yeah, it's when we say Bard City, like the location, it exists in a couple hexes on a map, and we all
Okay.
just kind of mind palace pretend that it's a real place.
Is anyone keeping like the lore in paper or digitally?
We do have we sold this as like kind of like a fundraiser at some of our shows. We had a adventure zine
Mm-hmm.
which drops some lore and some magic items. And so it's like if you wanted to play D&D and you wanted to visit like a one shot in Bardcity, here's a supplement to like give your DM to be like, I want to play in this obnoxious place. Because Bardcity, like the fictional place,
Yeah.
is a horrible place. No one wants to do any work.
Yeah.
Everyone just wants to party all the time. Like it's a great place to visit. Like
But to stay there.
if you're a tourist, it's spectacular. The shows are awesome. The bars never close. If you live there though, you're dealing with like a bunch of bards who all want to make it in Bardcity, baby. But there's only so many slots. So they're all just
Yeah.
like jockeying for position, like backstabbing each other. Like the way to really kind of summarize it is imagine walking into a bar where every single person there is trying to be the funniest person in the room.
Okay.
Nightmare.
Yeah, sounds nice for a little while.
Not great to be there long term. So we had this little adventure scene which kind of explains some of the lore. And so if you want to, I can even remind me later and I'll send you a copy of it
Oh,
digitally.
yeah. Thank you.
It's just like a Word doc, but it's got some art in there. We sold it for like $5. It was like one of those things where it's like this is more of a tip and you get something cool out of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Uh-huh.
but yeah, that's the lore of Bardcity, the place.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Now, how did you get started in LARPing? I know you mentioned around high school, but how did that happen?
So my older brother went off to college, and his freshman year, he was like, his roommate at the time was just like this awful jock who only showed up to college to like get drunk as shit and like never go to class and all that stuff.
Okay.
So he was like, I need to spend as little time as possible in my dorm room because this guy sucks. Um, and him and I were like really big into like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. We actually had I think it really all came from my aunt, who she was a huge fantasy nerd.
Okay.
So when I was like, 8 years old, she brought us to the Lord of the Rings movies. And of course, as a kid, I'm just like, I like the guy who shot the bow. That was cool. And then I just rewatched him, and obviously one of my favorite movies of all time. And so we were all into fantasy stuff. And when he went off to college, he found these people who were just hanging out in the quad, hitting each other with foam sticks. And he's like, what's this? And so he started going, and they're like, yeah, it's this game called Dagger here. And we just show up and we fight, and it's a good old time. So he kept going. And when I had to wait a little while, but when I turned 16, I was finally old enough to play the game.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a minimum age because you don't want somebody just like trucking you.
Yeah, of course.
As like a 12-year-old, because this game, while you're fighting with foam weapons, it was full contact. So like if
Okay.
somebody wanted to like hit stick tackle you, fair game, totally allowed.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, don't like if you're wearing like
It's not ideal.
if you're wearing like full plate mail and you tackle someone, that's not a good look on you.
Of course.
But it's not against the rules.
Okay.
Which is a lot of fun because like when you get like 300 people on the battlefield, like shield walls just like pushing each other back and forth, and like
Wow.
and like I played football in like middle school and a little bit in high school, so like I was a lineman, so the idea of just like getting a chance to like come on push was just so much fun. And we had an absolute blast. So actually, Onion and I were in a band together junior year of high school, and I quit the band. I picked the bass guitar because I kind of wanted to look cool to girls. It did not work. It didn't work because dumb high school Pat. Um, but so I played with him in a Pink Floyd cover band, and then
Okay.
this was I started LARPing more, and Joe was like, "Why are you quitting the band?" I'm like, "Well, it's this game that I'm playing now.
I
It's
want
taking
to
up a
hit
lot.
people with foam.
It's taking a lot more time." And he's like, "Can I come?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, absolutely, you can." So I dragged him along to a day event, and he had so much fun. Uh, and from there on, he joined my unit, and we hung out and LARPed for years and years and years, until we both kind of had life get in the way and then stopped going. But then like coming back, I like reached out to him and I was like, "Do you want to get back in the game, bro?" And of course he was like, "Absolutely, yeah." So,
Yeah. Who had say no?
but that's how we got started, and that was a lot of really cool memories there. So I don't fight anymore because I broke my pinky,
Oh,
and
really?
I play bagpipes, and I had to get surgery to keep this one straight so I can like properly do the embellishments and all that stuff. And
Ooh.
I broke my pinky on a shield. Like I jammed it
Ow.
into a shield, and it didn't actually hurt that much. I didn't even realize it was broken until like a week later. I'm like, this still hurts.
That's not normal.
Right. Like I thought this would be done by now.
How did you hit a shield with
I
your
I I
pinky?
was swinging a sword, and like it like fell out of my
Like in
hand
a
and just kind of
fancy way?
it just jammed on there.
Oh,
Yeah. Um it was dumb. I was being dumb, but
I
but
mean,
I had to
it
get
will
it.
eventually happen.
Yeah, I had to get my bones reorganized in there. Um and I basically was like, I need to decide stick fighting or bagpiping. And I do intend to play bagpipes until I'm like 80. So I was like, all right, sorry, stick fighting. I'm still gonna hang out and dress funny. Um, but I'm just gonna bring
Okay.
my bagpipes.
So I do want to get to how you got into music and how did you
Mhm.
learn that specific instrument. But before we jump into that, one more question about LARPing. And it's because
Absolutely.
I've never LARPed in my life before. I mean, yes, with my friends, but it's like 10 people
Yeah.
tops. So I don't know how it works. Do you have like a character sheet or is whatever you want to do and say?
Oh, there's a spectrum. So
Okay.
some LARP is truly like it's called like parlor LARP, and you are just role playing a character like in someone's kitchen.
Okay.
It's like a step removed from D&D, where at least you're
Okay.
standing up and sort of interacting with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got like so like on that side, there's like no combat, no action, and you might even have a character sheet. For you might even roll for actions. So it's like literally just D&D, but you're standing up and you're dressed funny. Um,
Okay.
which is fun, it's
Mm-hmm.
D&D
Yeah.
rules. So and then like all the way on this side of the spectrum, you've got like HEMA, which is historical European medieval. I can't remember the acronym.
Okay.
You're in full plate. You have steel weapons that are blunted, and
Oh wow.
you actually hit each other with full force. And there's like rules and reps and all that stuff. That is too extreme for me. um,
Yeah, sounds
First off,
dangerous,
you need to
especially
have
for a bard.
yeah, you actually need to have uh uh real armor. Like it needs to be able to prevent you from getting chopped in half.
Wow.
And so you need to have real steel. Uh and they don't like to call themselves larpers because they don't play characters. It's more of like
Height?
MMA, but medieval
Okay.
MMA. That's it. Yeah, historical European martial arts. That's the one.
Oh,
um
okay.
and so like on the other extreme end where it's very
Yeah.
little role play, much more hitting each other really hard. And then like so you've got SEA, which is also you have to wear full steel, but you're hitting each other with wooden weapons, so it's a little bit more
Okay.
um
Safe.
they focus more on the historical aspect of it, so like the
Oh,
fighting isn't
wow.
even a majority of what they do. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
the plurality, it's the biggest thing. But you have over here, you got like arts and sciences, you got people who are like recreating like how it was to be a medieval peasant baking bread or something like that.
Okay.
And that's like what is also happening. Now they don't do any fantasy stuff, so you're not going to see any elves or fairies or anything there. So that's like where it goes. Our game kind of lies in the middle where it's foam, but it's still full contact. So you're allowed to, again, this game, you're still allowed to truck people.
Yeah.
But it's like truck people responsibly. And there's magic. So if somebody like whips a ping pong ball at you and says lightning bolt, you're fried.
So
but
do you roll a die, or how do you decide if the person, how many hit points or all that?
it's kind of an honor system. And
Okay.
it self-regulates, and it regulates pretty dang well. Because if you get hit in the arm or if you get hit in the chest and you don't take that hit, you're allowed to call light. Like there's the game that we play is called Sufficient Force, where you need to actually, like, the sword needs to kind of bounce off of you to have enough force to
Okay.
count as a real hit.
All right. So if it
And
just brushes your arm,
if
or
it brushes, you can just be like, hey man, you gotta, you're like fighting, and you can make eye contact with the guy and be like, that was brush, and then they have an understanding.
okay.
It's all happening very quickly, because there's also an understanding of, if you don't take a hit, people are going to be in their head. They're either going to think, wow, that guy's a jackass, or they're going to think, I didn't hit them hard enough, so now I have to hit them harder. And if you
And
do
you
that,
don't want that.
if you do that consistently, eventually someone's just going to wail on you over and over and over and over and over again, and you're going to go,
Yeah.
God, dead, 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 dead. And it's like, well, I didn't know, man. You weren't feeling the rest of my shots, you know. So,
Changed your face.
yeah. So that's and there's reasonable. You're not like, no headshots are legal.
Okay.
But like, yeah, it's kind of like an honor system. If you don't play by the rules, either someone will go up to a ref and say, hey, this guy's not taking his hits, or what's more likely is going to happen is you're going to get your ass beat. And the problem sorts itself out. So but yeah, that's kind of how that
Okay.
works. So yeah, you don't have dice. It's you kind of just keep track of how many guys, like if you get hit in the chest and you're not wearing armor, you're dead. And if you get hit in the chest and you are wearing armor, you can say like, all right, armor. And then when you go fight someone new, you can say, you usually just look at them and say, I want hit on my armor real quick, just to let them know, all right, if I hit them in the chest once, they'll be dead, and people take it. Because if you don't
Okay.
take it, bad things can happen.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And it's a very rare problem. It does not happen very often.
Okay, that's so nice.
Mhm.
I did imagine that might happen. I did had a little bit of contact with soft combat, so
Mhm.
no LARP, no story, no acting, just hitting each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a problem
Mhm.
sometimes.
Yeah. It gets pretty hectic. But again, it's wild how you can have like 300 people on a battlefield,
Wow,
and they all just play by the rules.
that's nice.
And that's not even like the biggest fight I've ever been in was like 1,000 people, like 500 on each side.
Wow.
And it truly is one of those things where it's like, you play by the rules or else someone's going to make you play by the rules,
Yeah.
and you don't want that. And so everyone kind of just, and again, if you have some guy, it's common enough that there's a term for it. It's called rhino hiding, which just means
Mhm.
that you have the skin as thick as a rhino. So like, oh, you're not feeling the hits, and there's people who will have a reputation of that guy barely takes his hits, so really wail into him. But most, like, that's again edge cases. Most of the time people are just, and we tell new people like, hey, if you're going to go out and fight, if you think something's questionable, just take it for now, because the last thing you want is to be considered a cheater.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well,
Mhm.
now I do want to LARP. I mean, I always wanted, but now I'm
It's
100% sure I want to do that.
it's one of those things where it's, once you do it, you can't go back. It is the nerdiest shit you can do. You just have to accept that you are cringe. This is cringe, but
I mean,
you are free. And it's so much fun. And like there's people who like the people who don't have fun are the guys who try to show up and be like, well, I'm not like really LARPing. I'm just, checking it out, I guess. And the people who do have fun are the people who are like, I am Korgoth the Barbarian. I'm going to kick your ass. Those are the guys who have way more fun. Because like even you can't say you're LARPing ironically, because people will still make fun of you for LARPing. So you
yeah.
might as well
I mean, you're over there.
right, just go, just do it. Um so
I
it's
agree.
yeah, absolutely. And that's how we tell people. It's like, listen, if you're gonna come LARP, go nuts. Just go full speed, and you'll have much more fun with this. All of us are here. Yes, we know how nerdy this is. We are under no illusions that this isn't the nerdiest thing you can do. But if you just go in 100 miles an hour, you will have a blast. But you just got to be willing to like commit to it. So
Yeah, of course.
mhm.
I mean, I agree with that, and I would apply that to all nerdy RPG
Absolutely.
related things. Don't be ashamed of what you like and who you are. We are
Exactly.
a lot of people.
Yeah, there's a ton of us. Like, yeah, like playing D&D back like in high school was considered like this nerdy thing, but like now it's like there's high school clubs that
Yeah.
like I'm seeing like it like these kids these days are all just like going out to game stores and playing D&D together, and I'm like, yes, we made it, we out here.
Yeah, that's true. I also feel glad about that, and also that I get to live that because I mean I still can get some cool things
Right.
easily.
Yeah, so that's it's look in your area because it's all over the place. I don't know if any LARP in Cancun, unfortunately. But
I'm not sure, but there must be something around here.
maybe. I mean,
If not, we will have to organize it.
right, absolutely. We got rule books, we got tutorials on how to make weapons, so
That's true. So let's go back or now to the music part.
mm.
How did you get started? And please, how did you start playing the bagpipes?
Okay, so let's do bagpipes first and then band.
Okay.
Okay. Bagpipes, I was back in high school, and my aunt, I've got an aunt who will just get into hobbies really intensely. And I just was like younger, and I still do this. I mean, I'm 31 and I still hang out with her, go do weird shit with her. Because she just be like, I am going glass blowing, and I'm like, I am there. Like, and so it's like, cool, right on. So she was getting into Scottish drumming, and I was like,
Okay.
cool, I would also like to get into Scottish drumming because why not, Um, and so we went out. There's a band in Baltimore that was a very casual band, not competition at all.
Mhm.
And they, in order to recruit, they basically said, we will give you free music lessons, but you have to play with the band when you're ready to play. So like when we
Good.
have parades and stuff like that, you have to march with us.
It's a
Done
good
deal.
deal.
It's a
Yeah.
great deal because like music lessons are normally like $50 an hour. Uh, so especially weird niche instruments like this. So free lessons was great. So I get there and I'm trying to learn how to play the drums, and the drummer instructor doesn't show up that day, but the piping instructor did, and he's like, I'm not gonna have you sitting here doing nothing, so pick up a chanter and start playing a scale. And you start with bagpipes, you start with this dinky little wooden thing
Okay.
that is sort of simulating what you're supposed to play on, like how you actually play the music. But the
Mhm.
thing about that, it's only $20. Um, so if you start playing it and you hate it, then you're only in the hole $20.
Okay. Yeah.
But bagpipes cost like $1,000. Uh, so it's one of those things where you
You
don't
have
want
to
to
be
buy
sure.
buy the full set. So you're on the practice chanter for about a year.
Wow.
Because you want to
Only
have
with the small one.
only with the small one, yeah. Because you want to have your muscle memory just perfect. Um, because once you move to the full pipes, you're focusing entirely on your breathing, so you
Yeah.
don't pass out. And so I was on there. I just kept going back. And for my high school graduation gift, my grandfather, because I was in an Irish pipe band, so Scottish instrument, we played Irish music on it. Um, and my grandfather, dual citizens in Ireland, like he's a, you know, he was going back there all the time. He's the savior of Guinness. That's a whole different story, but he actually uh saved Guinness.
Okay.
And he, for my graduation gift, for my high school graduation gift, bought me a set of bagpipes. And when
That's
they came
nice.
when they came in the mail, I was like, oh yeah, I pieced them all together, got all the drones, got all the reeds in place, and I was like, all right, let's go. I'm gonna try to play one of the songs I know. And it was nothing. I was like, oh my god, this is hard. Brought him to my piping instructor. He's like, all right, here's the deal. You got to start small, dude. Corked like all the drones and just said, start with this. We only got one. We only got one pipe coming out. And then we worked our way up to having more. And then eventually I got to the point where I could march with the bands and all that stuff.
Wow.
And since then, like it's great for around St. Patrick's Day where we can go out and do, because that Casey Sirach, the shirtless guy, him and I actually just celebrated our 10-year anniversary of playing music together,
Oh,
or
wow.
playing bagpipes together. Because when I turned 21, that was the first time I was allowed to get into bars, and it was also the first time I was actually good enough to do solo gigs. Because when you're marching with the band, if you mess up, you've got like 8 or 9 other pipers kind of
Yeah.
covering
To
you up.
cover it up.
Yeah, but when you're by yourself, if you mess up, that's it. So my pipe major, brilliant piper, super good, very talented, very good at playing pipes, total introvert, hated bar gigs. And so when I turned 21 and I was finally good enough, he was like, Pat, I've got this bar gig in this city nearby. It pays money and you drink for free, and it's all very well and good, but I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate drunk people. I don't want to do it anymore. Do you want this gig? I, of course, am a broke undergrad. So I'm like, I get to play music and I get paid and I get to drink for free. Yeah, I'm in. And the organizer, this guy was rad as hell. He was like this older guy, like probably like 60s or something like that.
Okay.
And he threw his bar crawl every year, and he hired musicians, or he hired bagpipers. And he looked at me, when I said, hey, I'm taking over for Brian, he's like, well, if you know anyone else, like hit me up and I'll try to get some more money for him. So I reached out to Casey, and I were in choir together in high school, and he played the drums. So I was like, do you want to come play pipes with me, or you do pipes and drums with me? And he's like, but like he skipped a grade earlier, so he wasn't 21 yet. He was actually only 19, so he's like a year and a half younger than me, but we graduated at the same time.
Okay.
So we had that going for us, and I was like, dude, put on the kilt, put on the drum, you will not get carded. And so we put on the kilt, he has the drums on, we practiced a little bit. He's a great drummer, so he picks it up immediately. And the first bar, we march right in. We march past the bouncer. Guess what? Didn't stop us.
Nice.
And so we get in there, we play for like 15 minutes. And take a breather. Organizer says, Pat, what do you want? Give me a Guinness. Casey, what do you want? Vodka Red Bull. And there we go. And then year after year after that, we played together. Eventually that bar gig ended. That bar crawl ended, and we just like we're looking for other gigs, but we ended up finding out that we actually made more money by just getting a street performer permit, going down into Baltimore and putting a bucket out in the corner and just playing for people around St.
Wow.
Patrick's Day. Like this past year, we cleared like $500 each
Wow.
during the weekend because people like the bagpipes, and that was after our bar tab too.
Oh, wow. So it was really, really
Yeah,
big.
no one gives a shit about bagpipes outside of the weekend of St. Patrick's Day, though. We've tried that in the summer
Mhm.
and got nothing.
Nothing.
People are just like, what are
Why?
you doing here, bro? St. Patrick's Day, everyone loves us. The moment that's over, we are chopped liver.
You're just the weird guys with the bagpipes.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's how I got into bagpiping. And what's great about LARP is they love bagpipes year round, so I can play whenever I want.
Nice.
Don't get paid as much,
Eh,
but
but you
um,
enjoy it.
I enjoy it. That's the important part. It's all beer money anyway, so it's like I'm not trying to be a professional bagpiper.
That's why Bardcity needs more help with tourism.
Yeah,
So
excellent.
we
So
have a comment. Oh, sorry.
oh yeah, no, go comment.
We have a comment and a question that I would like to mention. The comment says
Mhm.
this origin story is absolutely beautiful. I really hope
Mm,
you continue to grow. And I agree.
thank you.
It's really nice. And actually the same person for Heather, he's asking, or actually he exchanged some tickets that the viewers get watching the channel,
Okay.
and he exchanged one that says, I would like to know more, and it's about the time your grandfather
Oh,
became the savior, if that's something you can tell us.
right. Yeah, yeah. So my grandfather is an inventor.
Okay.
He's an engineer for big cooling systems.
Okay.
Um, he became fairly well off for inventing a air conditioning system that I'm about to get into the weeds of HVAC, boys. Like, strap in. We're about to go wild here. He basically he invented an air conditioner that was good enough to cool down like an entire skyscraper.
Oh wow,
Um,
one.
oh, I mean, whatever, how many ever you need. Like, it just depends on how big you want to make it.
Okay.
Like, yeah, but basically it sits in the basement and it's just like it freezes these giant blocks of ice, and then it
Okay.
blows air over the ice and then pumps that through the building. Um,
Nice.
so I'm gonna get the details of this story wrong, but there's multiple Guinness breweries around the world. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got the one in Dublin, and you got like I think it's Dublin, I think Brazil, and I think Nigeria. And
Okay.
there's now one in Maryland. There's now one literally 10 minutes down the street from me, which is nice. I'm cool with that. That opened up like 3 years ago. Um, and but yeah, so they would always get in a competition who could brew the most beer.
Okay.
Because there's just you want to be able to say I made the most and then ship it across the world.
Of
Um,
course.
the one in Dublin kept losing because they have the power company would go on strike every now and again, and you'd lose a lot of access to power.
Mm-hmm.
So like the guys, the brewery there had to devote their like limited electricity to keeping the stuff they had already brewed cool,
Of course.
uh, versus versus brewing new stuff. And
Yeah.
and he shows up and is like, hey, we can fix that. We've got this thing, it uses a lot less power. It's like upfront power, but once you got it, it's there. um
Okay.
and you can then use what you want to brew more beer versus keeping your old stuff cool, because this basically will work for you with a lot less needed energy. And so they
Mm-hmm.
did that, and after a couple years later, they're back on top. um
Nice.
and we went to the Guinness Brewery a couple years ago, and we got to see the Baltimore area cooling tower sticker on their on the side of their brewery, and I was like, that's us. And my dad's telling me this story because we went 1 year with him and
Hmm.
like the entire extended family. Um, and he's like just sitting in this chair. This is, this unassuming old guy, just like chilling with a pint in his hand. And my dad's like, if he had told them that he was showing up, they would have rolled out the red carpet, but he didn't because he doesn't want that kind of attention. He's not that type of guy. Um, so he was just one of those things where it's like, that's cool. My grandfather's cool as shit. This is awesome. But then I'm also thinking we could have gotten free beer out of that probably, but wasn't my decision. So, but yeah, I'm probably getting a million details wrong, but that's the story as I know it.
It's a great story, and well, you didn't get that out of the story or the event, but
Mhm.
as they are mentioning on the chat, it could be a family bard story inspiration for a song.
I could take that. Yeah, absolutely. I should write a song about that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that I agree. It's a good idea. I would like to know, going back a little bit to
Mhm.
this first night as a band, when you were introduced as a band and you
Yes.
went to the king and all that. We
Mhm.
got distracted with the assassins and the king and
Yeah.
all that event. However, how was your first show as a band?
Oh, it was great. It was just the three of us. We had no amplification at all. Um, so I'm singing. We got Onion on guitar and Franciel on the drums, and
Hmm.
we so we're having a good old time. And it's we at that point didn't have we had no original music, so we're only
Okay,
playing covers.
makes
But we
sense.
had enough covers to play for like an hour. Um, and uh so we're just like jamming out, and then people are not necessarily paying attention to us. Like we're not demanding attention, if that makes any
Hmm.
sense. We're just kind of adding to the atmosphere.
Okay.
So like people are still like chatting amongst their friends, going getting a bottle of wine or anything like that. And like some people are coming around and like tapping along and all that stuff. But mostly it's just like people just sort of vibing with the environment that we were creating. And like people that I thought weren't listening later on came up to me and were like, dude, that was the best night I've had at LARP in a long
Nice.
time, just because the atmosphere was so good. Like the bard sitting in the corner strumming a guitar just adds to it, even if no one's paying attention to the bard. Hell, even that adds to the ambiance. Like the classic image of a bard
Yeah.
just strumming his flute and adventurers discussing, their exploits and all that stuff. Um, and it also helped that we played some trad instruments. So I got my bagpipes and I got my tin whistle. Um, so like it that night was magical in that sense because like it's low light. We're in this sort of like barn turned wine room, like wine tasting room. So
Uh-huh.
it's this wooden
Oh,
old.
that's beautiful.
It's great. They had fairy lights hanging up. Um, and it was, and then of course everyone's in garb and people are on edge because the king's battle's tomorrow, and so people are still wearing armor, but other people are gambling and like, um, so that night was spectacular. And I knew that we would not really be able to recreate that night because now
Yeah.
we're a known entity.
Yeah, of
So
course.
when we go and play music, people actually watch us now, which I can't tell people at this point to stop doing that. I would be a really bad bard if I was like,
Isn't that the goal? And you got it already.
right, yeah, I know, but it's nice. I love being the center of attention. Do not get me wrong. Um, but there was this kind of magic there where it's just like the unassuming group of bards just playing and people just kind of letting it wash over them. It was quite spectacular. Um, and now one thing that we did do is we have been playing at other LARPs. We actually been hired to come and play at different games.
Oh, wow.
Um, and one of the things we offer is 1 hour of a vibe set. where, I sit down with my whistle or drum or pipes, because I've got my
Mhm.
indoor pipes, which are much quieter. My Highland pipes do not get the vibe set because they demand attention. There's two volumes, loud and off. But I've got my small indoor pipes, which are a lot
Okay.
more, indoor friendly, to say the least. And so what we would do is we would just post up for like an hour and say, hey, we're not gonna be playing music. But even then, people are still paying attention to us, which I'm like, how do I tell you? Stop looking at me. Just enjoy yourself. Go talk plots. Like go conspire against the king or something like that. That's the point. Stop. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I like the idea that people like listening to us. But there was that magic moment on that first night that we were really playing as a band that I mean, I'm gonna remember that forever. That was spectacular.
And it's a really cool story on how you said like, we should make a bard band.
And we were not expecting the response that we've gotten since then.
Okay, so that was actually my next question. You mentioned that once already. So what do you mean by that?
Like, well, obviously we weren't expecting to like kind of blow up on Instagram and TikTok. And this is one of those things where it's like long term, we're like, well, it'd be really nice to see if we could play at Maryland Ren Fair. It'd be really nice if we could play at there's a music and gaming festival nearby that we go to every year, all of us as a group, just as attendees. Like, oh, it'd be really great if we could play there. It's like 4 days straight of video game rock bands and video games. It's
Okay.
rad. But we were like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could play there? So we were like, let's go, because we played our songs at a couple LARP events and all that stuff. Had a lot of fun. Started writing music, and we were like, what if we were to play outside of LARP events? And a buddy of mine was running an open mic night. And he was like, well, come play us. That'd be fun. And the only person who could make it was me and the Cobza player, winners. And so it was just the two of us. And we're kind of like looking at each other like, this open mic night is like Normie City, USA. It's like a strip mall at a dessert bar.
Okay.
And it's not nerdy even a little bit. It's mostly people with acoustic guitars playing covers of like, songs that are popular in the aughts or something. And we're like looking at each other. We're gonna show up and we're gonna sing songs about Dungeons and Dragons. And we're thinking like, is the garb, is the getup, is it too much? And we kind of just agreed like, listen, if people don't like the music about Dungeons and Dragons, they're not going to like it just because we wore normal clothing.
That's true.
So like, if they're gonna hate it, they're gonna hate it regardless of however we dress up. So we're like, all right, fuck it, full send, like, so we go in full garb and we walk into this dessert bar and we were like, we would like to on the open mic night tonight. And so we got a couple free drink tickets. We sit down, we got a beer in our hand, and of course we're the only people dressed up in anything like this. Everyone else is just in normal clothing, and they're like, what are you, what's this? And like every now and again someone will be like, is there like a Ren Fair happening around? It's like, no, we're just playing this open mic night. So like when we go up and play, we are just like, here's the deal. Like we go full power ballad, and if people don't like it, people don't like it. There's nothing we can do about it. So let's just go 100%, 100 miles an hour. And we did, and I get on the mic and I'm like, who here's play Dungeons and Dragons? And like 3 or 4 people have raised their hand.
Nice.
Like, out of like, there's like 100 people in the room.
Oh, well, still.
And I'm like, who here's play Dungeons and Dragons? And like 3 or 4 hands go up, and I'm like, all right, who here's watched Stranger Things? And a lot more hands went up, and I was like, it's the game they play in that TV show. And then we sing a handful of songs, and like the rest of the night, like people will come up to us and be like, yo, like people who had played D&D who didn't raise their hand came up and were like, that was awesome, man. That was like a lot of fun. So then we played a couple more open mic nights here and there. We played for this empty brewery. It was completely empty. Like it was just like us, my wife, this couple on a date where the girl showed up first, had never played D&D before, but she walked
Okay.
up to us after we got our beers and was like, so what are you guys doing all dressed funny? And I was like, well, we're in a band. It's called Bardcity, and we sing about Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. And she's like, cool. And I was like, hey, do you want to roll the die for the song that we have to roll the die for? And she's like, yeah, that'd be great. So she's on a first date with somebody. That guy, so I just handed the D20. I'm like, I'll point at you.
When you have to roll.
It's this big D20. It's like a foot and a half wide. And I'm like, when you have to roll, I will point at you and just roll it in front of us. And her date shows up, and turns out he's a big D&D nerd.
Nice.
And she's like, what are you doing with that? So when we start singing our songs, he's losing his shit over all the references, and I can see him like whispering in her ear, like explaining why that joke was funny.
You guys were the greatest wingman.
Oh yeah, because then she rolls the die and is having a ton of fun with it. And she's so then after that, like it's like it was supposed to be an open mic night, but we were the only group to actually show up.
Okay.
So we were like, all right, bye.
It's our concert now.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have that much music at the time.
Okay.
Or at least original stuff. We didn't want to like lean too much into the covers. So we were like, all right, later.
Bye.
And so fast forward to there's a board game bar in Baltimore that like I was told to reach out to. So I just cold call them. I'm like, hey, we're a bard band. We play about Dungeons and Dragons. You guys have music nights in the summer. Would it be cool for us to come and play for you guys? And they're like, all right, we'll give you a shot, like half an hour set. Which is great. You know, we're a completely unknown entity. They just gave us mics and everything we needed.
Nice.
So we show up and we're like, we practice this set. And basically, we're like, this is our introduction into like the local nerdcore scene. This is our audition tape, really. Because like it was going to be a popular event. There was a popular group playing after us.
Okay.
They were like a D&D podcast that called Whose Rolls It Anyway, and they basically play D&D, but the audience gets to tell what happens. It's a lot of fun. It's like basically it's like I cast a spell. All right, they pull from a list of spells that the audience wrote, and it's like you cast like blood out your eyes, and it's like ah. And so you don't get a choice on whether or not you cast blood out your eyes. It's pretty much random. But so they were playing after us. They were doing a 2-hour show, and we were the opening act. So a lot of people showed up. And one thing that I did not know playing was that in the second row was one of the heads of music for that music and gaming festival.
Wow.
And
okay.
So after the show, she walks up to me and is like, you need to apply for this particular stage. I can't guarantee you anything, but it would be really, really nice if you did. And this was one of our long-term plans to play for this show. So we were like, all right, yeah, that would be really, 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 really nice. So we put our application in, and I ended up seeing her later at another show. And she looks at me and I know she can't say
if you got in.
If we got in, but she's looking at me like, you should prepare as if you did. And then like when we finally do get accepted and we finally get in, which by the way, the email was brutal. They were like, hello, we've reviewed your application and there's over like 60 people who applied and there's only 15 slots. And like it's reading like it's gonna lead up to this like
Give
soft
me the answer.
rejection,
Yeah.
and then it's like, and you're one of them, and I'm like, why would you say that? Why didn't you just start with congratulations? So that was our next big show, and like we had a ton of fun playing it, and like we were able to use that. They got really good footage of us, and we were able to use that to apply for Maryland Ren Fair, which we were not
Nice.
thinking that we would. Maryland Ren Fair is like the third biggest in the US.
Wow.
I got spoiled growing up next to it. Because I just thought all Ren fairs were like this. And it's like, oh no. This is a particularly good one. So we were like, well, it would be really nice to play. So we were able to use some of the footage we got from there to apply, and we got it only for one weekend because again, we're untested. We never actually normally you have to pay your dues. You play like these little pop-ups here and there, which
Mm-hmm.
we have done since then, but we were playing shows that were after the application due date.
Okay.
And so we were just like shot in the dark, like, hope to God. And they gave us one weekend. It was Myth and Magic weekend, which is supposed to be like Ren Fair, but you're allowed to wear elf ears today. I mean, you're always allowed to wear elf ears at Ren Fair. Like, no one gives a shit. No one's gonna go up to you and be like, "That is not Renaissance." And like I would usually go up to like I would like goof at Ren Fair and be like, "Don't tell anyone, but the Winnegas I'm wearing are more 12th century rather than 15th." No one cares. But the acts can't be overtly non-Renaissance by and
Okay.
large. Unless you're a really big name, then you can be. You can be whatever you want. We are not. We were not.
Yet.
But so we got in, and we lost our minds because now we got to get to play Ren Fair this fall, and we love Ren Fair. All of us love Ren Fair. And then the Beholder video happened where and that's probably maybe the first time you saw us.
I think it was.
And that caught on like wildfire.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw you guys.
And that got around. That got around very, very much. We were playing gigs, and like we played at a LARP 2 weekends ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to a guy, and I was just like chilling out. I wasn't saying like, "Hey, I'm with the band" or anything like that. I was just like, "Hey, what's your deal?" And he's like, "Wait, are you with Bardcity?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, my mom sent your video a week ago to me."
Wow. Uh-huh.
And I'm like, and he responded back like, "I think I'm seeing them play next week." And she was like, "What? Like they do that?" And he's like, "Yeah. We played a show in the middle of Baltimore City, like in one of the more popular spots in Baltimore. They were having a nerd night, so we got to play a show. And in the middle of the show, we stop and say, "All right, guys, if you know the words, sing along. This next song is called Our Level 3 Party Accidentally Broke into the Lair of Beholder." And I saw like 2 or 3 faces in the audience being like, I know those guys.
Seen that before.
I've seen them before. So the a couple people came up to us and like, I didn't realize it was the same group until and like, so that's what's wonderful about that is because promoters don't really know how much pool you have. But they look at social media pages to determine whether or not they should extend a gig to you.
Makes sense, yeah.
So now we can lie to promoters and pretend that our following isn't entirely online, They see the big number and they get to say, "Oh yeah, absolutely, come on in," which is all very well and good. Because I mean, that's the actual end game for social media for me is so I get to play live more, because playing live rules. It's so much fun. I enjoy it so much. And I just have an absolute blast with it. And the the whole game of like making music and making songs or making shitty or like dumb little videos and stuff like that, we all have fun making it. So if we post that online and no one listens to it, if no one listens to our album, if no one watches our videos, it doesn't matter because we've already won. Because we had a fun time making stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
Since we're having fun with that, anything beyond that is house money. So it's just like we're having a good time, and anything after that is just gravy. And the response that we're getting from the community, like people will just text us and be, or like message us and be like, yo, by the way, listen to this song, this was a lot of fun, can't wait to see you guys over in like at the next event or whatever.
Mhm.
Or like, hey, you should come out to San Francisco and play. And it's like, all right, listen, San Francisco's that's pretty far away. And so like if somebody, like one guy messaged to me like 2 weeks ago and was like, if you ever do a tour in the UK, let me know. And I'm like, buddy, if we ever get a tour in the UK, I'll get you free tickets. Like, because I don't expect us to be doing a tour in the UK anytime soon.
But it's part of the plans in the future.
No, honestly, it's one of those things. We're having a blast with this as it is. We really don't have any intention of like turning it into our jobs.
Okay.
Because then it's work. This is just fun, and we also have an understanding. There's a pretty hard ceiling for how far a D&D band can go. Like, we're not going to win any Grammys. But like, we're having a good old time with it. And I think if we still like, we get paid, we make money. But that's to then go and make music videos and to pay for travel and all that stuff. But like all of us have jobs that we like.
And your cool costumes.
And our costumes, yes. And our hats.
And the feathers on your hat.
Yeah, these are not, they gotta get funded somehow, right? But we're having just a lot of fun with it. And if somehow we really truly blow up and actually get to do music full time, sure, that would be awesome. But also it's hard to make money in the music industry.
That is true.
And we don't have any illusions
Contacts?
about that.
Yeah.
So but we're having a good old time, and as long as we're enjoying ourselves, we'll keep doing it.
It's cool. Yeah. And it's true what you mentioned. It's we are growing as a community, the nerds and the RPGs, LARPists, but it still has its limits. I mean, I really enjoy your music, and I'm sure a lot of people does.
Yeah.
I mean, even people that don't play.
Yeah, absolutely. I've gotten my like extended family who are like not nerdy people at all think the music is very nice because they're musicians and stuff like that, so they're just enjoying it for that sake, but they don't get the jokes. But yeah, like we're if, oh, by the way, for any of the listeners here, if you want to give us money, our album did just go up on it did just go up on Bandcamp, so if you want to buy it, by all means, feel free. It's only $8. But yeah, it's fun. I'm enjoying it. We're having an absolute blast with it, and we do worry that if it turns into work, then it won't be fun anymore.
Yeah, that's a possibility. That's true. So you actually answered partially one of my next questions. That was the reaction that you've got so far. You mentioned part of your family, but in general, what's the reaction that you and the other guys in the band have received?
Oh, I mean, it's been a lot of really positive. In the game, it's very fun because like people who were there that first night, are like seeing us blow up, or like somebody will send them like a video and be like one guy was like, hey, came up to me at this past Bella, who we hung out with him on that like first Thursday night where we're just like jamming with Tin Whistle, like not even our first day as a band, just like the first jam sesh. And like a month ago, a buddy of his like, you're in Maryland, did you know about this Bard band like in Bardcity? These guys are local to you guys, you should go see them. And he's like, dude, I know those guys. Like I've played trumpet with them, like I have gotten drunk around a fire with them,
Nice.
um so like the game itself has been a lot of fun, like reacting very well, uh and like people are like, oh my god, dude, you got into Magfest, oh my god, you're going to Ren Fair, like um it's like people are just like, this is great, this is so much fun. And of course they get to be like the folks who were there at the beginning, everyone likes to be those people who are like, I was there at that first show, like um and it's just, so that reaction was pretty fun. Our guitarist had his boss, it showed up on his feed, he doesn't do D&D at all, it just appeared on his timeline and was like, is this you? And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's me. Um so like that's been a lot of fun. I my On my mother's side, they're all musicians.
Oh,
And
okay.
like they were in choir, or my I've been in music for a long time, either through like the Irish American community in Baltimore, or like my mom was in the folk group at church, so like
Wow.
every Sunday, we're watching my mom play in a band for mass and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and then of course, like in high school I was in the I played bagpipes and I was in the high school choir, and I was a theater kid. um so like my family are all big into musical theater and singing and all that stuff. So they are having an absolute blast listening to us, even though they have no idea what the hell we're talking about. They're
I
just
mean,
like,
do enjoy those jokes even if you don't understand the core of them.
right, yeah. So they don't know anything, they don't get the context, but they're like, the music is nice, I can tell you're improving as like a songwriter. um and that's cool. That was a very nice, that made my heart feel good when
Oh.
my aunt was like, you're getting better at this, and it's like,
Oh. Well, coming from
hey,
a family of musicians, I guess that's
right,
vague.
right, because like if a family member just says, hey, that's really good, they could just be, you
Yeah.
know saying nice things because they're family, they have to.
Yeah, but
um
no, your family really knows what they're talking about.
mhm. And then say you're getting better,
Yeah.
that's a different thing. And that made me, that warmed my heart up.
So you are the songwriter.
Yes, so we all collaborate on it, but I do write the lyrics for most of the songs.
Okay.
So like some of the songs, like "Are We the Bad Guys" was written by Winners, um, but sometimes it would be so some of the songs I would write lyrics and be like, I don't know where to bring the melody, and then we'd all sit there and just kind of jam it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then some songs I wrote like 90% of it, including chords, and then we'd get the band together and get it over the finish line.
Okay.
So it is a collaborative effort. But I would say majority, but not like that big of a majority of the songs are written by me.
Okay.
We're kind of all, we basically
Participating.
we'll come up with an idea and then sit together in my living room and just like be like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if, oh,
Uh-huh.
that would be really cool, let's add this line in there. um and there's like an expectation of like, we're gonna say the dumbest thing ever, but like don't hold it back an idea because it could be really funny. um like the idea of the level 3 party bit was truly just like us sitting, wouldn't it be really funny if we just did that and just screamed. um that was written in about 10 seconds. That's our most popular song. Yay. um so all these other songs we put a lot of
I mean,
effort
it's
in.
really good to get attention out. Might
Oh yeah.
not be like super complicated, but I got that one. The first time I thought it was like a joke between friends. I just watched it and I said, oh yeah, it's funny. But then I got that one on my feed again and I said,
Mhm.
okay, no, they
Look into
look
these guys.
serious. Let me open their profile. And I found you guys and it was amazing. So
That's
it's a good
been
way to call attention.
right. It's perfect for social media because it's short. The punchline is right there. It's like set up, punchline, done. Um, and what happens? We kind of like treat it like candy. Like it's something to get people in. It's quick.
Yeah.
and then the rest of our stuff is the steak dinner, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit more something you can sink your teeth into, but it takes a little bit more time. So that it's gotten a lot of people to be like, "Oh, this is really funny. What else they got? Oh, actually, I really like this song that they wrote." So that's nice. Uh, but I did actually start taking like music theory lessons and all that stuff to kind of like elevate my
Oh,
game. And
nice.
I've got an awesome instructor. He's so cool. Um, and he's just really talented. Because I was taking vocal lessons with him,
Mm-hmm.
and he got my game up like a couple of tiers, like almost immediately. Um, and when I started being like, I want to take some music theory lessons with you too, um,
Nice.
he was like, you best be ready to strap in, because like the vocal lessons was all very technical. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta have to do like lean forward, relax your neck, all that stuff. Like, all right, you're gonna want to do like this with your tongue. Like, don't have it hanging out back so much. Don't push it too forward or whatever. Very technical on how to actively make the right music.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to music theory, he's like, songwriting is the it's the language of human emotion, and if you aren't ready to play ball with that, then we should stop right here.
Okay.
Because it's like, you better be ready to like, it's not just goofs, you better be ready to dive deep, you know. If you want to get anything out of this, like, be ready. um and we recently did write a song. I wrote a song with his help, called Bardic Inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a song in part about how awesome like this community I'm in and like what we found. And it's what's weird about the song is that it's 100% sincere. There is no punchline, there's no joke. Um, but it's spoken from the perspective of a bard who's casting bardic inspiration, but the song itself is very inspiring. Um, and it really came from it one time, at Darkon, the LARP that we're in. Every now and again they have to do, everyone goes to newbie speech to get a refresher on the rules. So like
Okay.
every week they have a newbie speech, or if it's your first day there, you show up and somebody explains how the rules work.
Mm-hmm.
But they've recently decided that every 6 months everyone has to give it
Everyone
again,
has to take it.
just
Okay.
to clarify on what is okay and what's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you hadn't been to newbie speech in 5 years, maybe you forgot that, with a flail, the top of a head is legal, the face is not. Um, and so, but like I was sitting there, and we don't fight, so like we still went to newbie speech because we had to.
Yeah.
But like it didn't matter for us. So like that particular camp out, I'm already day drinking. It's great. Um, so of course it's 12 o'clock noon. I crack open another beer, pour it in my chalice, and I walk on over. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm just like looking at all these people with all these awesome costumes that they've made, all these awesome characters that they created. And of course, I'm a little bit buzzed, so that I'm sure helped the situation. And I'm just like looking around and seeing a guy explain the rules for this game that's iterated and been improved over the last 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
and passed down from the guys who started it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, we're all in the middle of the woods camping and doing this. Nobody told us to be here. Like we all kind of woke up one morning and decided that we were going to do this, like of our own free will. Like no one's forcing us to be here, and like people have created this awesome community. I'm just like looking around and being like, this is amazing. And so I wanted to write a song that was about like, um about that. And like the chorus goes like, you inspire me, so I'll inspire you. No one in this world can do all the things you do. Take my helping hand. I'll do what I can to make things a bit easier in our quest across the land. Um, and it goes into that. So that's
Wow, that's so nice.
and I worked with my instructor on that, and I was just like, I could play a verse of that if you guys want to hear it.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm sure the chat will say yes.
All right.
So
I
I
mean,
will
can
wait for their answer. Yes.
you imagine if they were like, actually, nah, dude. Um. Uh. All right. Let me actually pull up the lyrics just so I don't mess them up because it is a new song.
Sure, sure.
I probably don't need them, but
Just to be sure.
absolutely, I don't want to like be like, oh shoot, what was the word again? So I'll play the first verse for you guys. Is the music coming through? Actually, let me turn on original
Yeah.
sound.
Oh,
On
okay.
Zoom. All right, there we go. Sit back, relax a bit, and take a little time. Forget the world a moment or the will of the divine. Listen closely to my tone, you can hear it in the chime, and feel it move it through you. There is magic in this rhyme. I know it can feel like the whole world's in disarray. You've been beat up, pushed out, fireballed, lost and then betrayed, but you steel yourself and try again. I see it every day. So take a round and lend an ear and hear my serenade. 'Cause you inspire me, so I'll inspire you. No one in this world can do all the things you do. Take my helping hand, I'll do what I can to make things a bit easier in our quest across the land. And I know that there are things that I simply cannot do, but I'll give you a little edge just to help you pull it through. So hold this in your heart for whatever you so choose, and take some inspiration with you, and take some inspiration with you. And it goes to the rest of that. So
That's very good. It's a beautiful lyrics.
yeah,
Yay!
that's
Thank
again
you
like
so much.
the one not goof song. Because I was like, I'm gonna show up and I'm actually gonna say something nice, like, because it's absolutely 100% needed.
That's so nice. And everyone on the chat is really enjoying, well, did enjoy the song.
Oh,
Very
spectacular.
beautiful.
I'm hoping that the sound came through nice.
Yeah, I think it did. I saw they mentioned that in the chat and here on Zoom as well. But
Okay.
yay! Thank you so much for singing that for us.
Yeah, no worries. Again, we've only sang that song once
Okay.
in a performance, and we are gonna play it for like the first time and like in front of like a mic'd real audience this Saturday for our album release party. So so I'm
Nice.
gonna like be like, it's gonna be like 50 minutes of like goops and stuff like that, and I'm like kick the door down and be like, get ready to feel things, asshole.
Okay, you laugh now. Now it's time to get serious and cry a
Right. Yeah,
little.
exactly. Right. So like the first time I sang that song, that song I pretty much wrote entirely myself.
Okay.
With a little bit of help here and there for like the nitpicking. But the first time I sang that song for the band, like people were like, "Oh my God!" Like
Oh.
I'm tearing up a little bit here, you know. But I like that song. I like that song quite a bit.
I like it as well. Before I was about to say that the favorite song of the studio was Are We the Bad Guys?
Oh, we're the bad guys. It's great.
But I think now it's changed to this one. At
Well,
least for me.
we'll get the full recording out as soon as we can for you guys.
That's
So
so nice. Now you mentioned the party you have next Saturday for the album release. And
yep.
if I'm not mistaken, you also have a video already.
Oh yeah, we've got a music video for Are We the Bad Guys.
So how was that experience for you guys?
That was a ton of fun. I thought that it would be easier because it's all shot on like battle maps with little D&D minis. And I thought it would be easier because it would be hard to schedule all 7 of our schedules.
Yeah.
I was wrong. I thought it would be easier to shoot it on minis, and I was 100% wrong because we had to make the battle terrains. Like suddenly it was like we had to get the custom minis, we had to get the battle terrains made, We had to make all the sets.
Yeah, makes sense.
Luckily, we had a couple good connections. Franciel, the mayor of Bardcity, is a carpenter in real life. So he had a lot of
Nice.
scrap wood at the shop, which we were able to use to build a set. And of course,
You
it's a
guys build the set.
yes. The sets, I
Wow.
mean, the set's only 3 feet by 2 feet, so because it's all D&D minis. Um, and my aunt, the person who got me into bagpiping, also was
Hmm.
really big into photography. Again, was
A lot of hobbies,
a
yeah.
lot of hobbies. For a long time was really big into rugby photography and actually traveled like had a Sports Illustrated press pass and traveled the country, traveled the
Nice.
world. it was
Okay.
it was wild. So but she's out of it. She's like, I'm done with this hobby now. But she still had all the camera equipment. So I asked her if she wanted to help out, and she's like, well, I'll lend you the camera. And I'm like, I don't no, I want you to like do this with me because I like hanging out with you. um and but a last minute thing was it's built, the sets were kind of built on this platform where you had the background here and you had the base here and everything was built on top of the base.
Yeah.
And we a last minute decision was to get one of the Lazy Susan things that like rotates like for your cabinets,
Yeah.
and we put it underneath the whole thing so that we had the camera on a tripod and we could just rotate the entire set slowly with the camera shooting.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah. That's a good
and
idea.
it made it look like the camera was panning, but to get a camera to pan that smooth, you need expensive equipment, which we did not have.
Yeah.
So we got the $20 Lazy Susan from Amazon, and then just rotated the entire set instead of moving the camera. And we had a ton of fun making that. And what also helps is we had a guy I knew who had a 3D printer who could print the minis for us. And then a lot of it was going on Etsy and buying set pieces.
Hmm.
But I actually did send the video to one of the guys we bought it from, and it's because I messaged all the people we bought minis from, and I was like, "Do you want to be credited?"
Uh-huh.
Um, and he was the only one to message back because he was a smaller company. And he's like, that's fine. Just like, here's what I say. So I sent him the link to the finished product, and he was like, dude, this is amazing. Next time you guys do this, just like hit me up and I'll hook you guys up.
Nice.
So if we decide to do another music video where we are all minis,
Hmm.
I'll hit him up again and we'll see what we can work out. But the next music video we're working on is for Greta the Goblin, and we're on the fence of because the music video is going to be shot in two perspectives. One perspective in the fantasy world,
Great.
because in October I actually work a part-time job at a haunted house.
Okay, nice.
And so the haunted house is there year round. You don't break it down. So like all the set pieces are still there, and I'm tight with I've been working there for 6 years now. So I messaged the owner and I was like, can we shoot a music video there? Because it's like full of dungeons and caves with skulls on the walls and all that stuff.
Nice.
And and then the other part of the music video is going to be around a table, like actually
Oh,
playing D&D in someone's kitchen.
yeah. Yeah,
And
like the game and the players.
the game and the players, exactly, the characters, and then the people with pizza. And we're on the fence. Here's actually, we could actually see if we can take a poll here. We're not sure if we want to do this or not because it would be more work, but we're thinking about the in-game character stuff being Muppets,
Okay.
like puppets of
Uh-huh.
our characters that we put in front of the camera singing the song versus uh
You guys?
versus us going around and singing the song in the haunted house. And we're like, that would be
Hmm.
kind of funny because then it flashes back to us sitting at the table fully human, just being like, what do we do? So would you guys think Muppets is funny is the question I have for chat.
Oh, okay. So it's not if humans or Muppets, just if Muppets are funny.
Well, if Muppets are funny, what would be because we could do us as humans or we could do us as Muppets, and we're trying to figure out what would be better. So
All right, so we are setting up the poll.
oh,
Also, we
wonderful.
have a small delay for Twitch.
Mm.
We are actually already getting answers, but let's wait for the.
We'll wait till the poll closes. We don't want
Okay.
to count anything too early. So
We have an answer in the chat that is in caps, all caps, saying "Do it."
all right, cool. I mean, that's definitely
They are referring to the Muppets.
perfect. Right on. I did pull up the chat. I'm not looking at the video, but I do have the chat sort of like out on the edge of the Zoom call, so I can see that.
Oh, perfect.
So
well, let's wait for the poll. In the
okay.
meantime,
all right.
you. Sorry.
Sorry, I just got a message from one of my bandmates who's watching this stream right now, who just said, "How dare you say are Muppets funny? Muppets are always funny." Hey, calling you out, Aoife.
I mean, he's trying to open up to everyone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, they okay, cool. But yeah, that's what we're thinking for the next music video. But we got to play some more gigs. We got to get some cash, so that we can hire a videographer and all that stuff. Because my aunt has cameras. She's a photographer, not a videographer. So getting someone who actually knows what they're like, how to deal with the moving picture, would be nice. So we just got to keep playing gigs, sell merch, all that good stuff. So
nice.
And the more we can do that, the more fun, cool shit we can do.
That's so cool. And how was the experience of making the album?
So that was great. It was recorded entirely in this living room right here.
Oh, wow.
Because one thing first off, just real quick, one thing I like about Bardcity is everyone who's joined the band is bringing a unique talent that no one else has. And one of them is we've got a guy who knows how to like record, mix, and master. So that we didn't have to go to a studio and pay for that time.
Nice.
So he basically had all the equipment. We set aside a weekend and just turned my living room into a studio. Which like took over the entire first floor of the house, to get everyone to like, we had to be spread out enough that like we weren't getting picked up by everyone else's mics.
Okay, yeah.
But I live in a tiny house. Not a tiny house, but it's not a very big house. So like the entire first floor was dedicated to this. And we just pumped it out in a weekend. And
wow, a lot of work.
I've never done that before, and I did not realize how absolutely exhausting it is. So I'm looking at the guys who've recorded like a dozen albums between the two, and they're like, "Yep, this is it. This is how things are. Like, get used to it." Because like I stood in the corner and I just sang, and I feel like I ran a marathon. I didn't move all day. But one very funny thing was I had to protect my voice, and I asked my vocal coach, like, what can I do? Because I'm going to be singing a lot over 2 days, and I don't want to lose any quality. What can I do? And first, it's like, don't do vocal warm-ups, or limit them. Like, don't go crazy, because you're going to have to drink a lot of tea, and by and large, shut up. Just don't talk. Which, if you haven't picked up in the last hour and a half, I love to talk. This was very hard for me. And so I love to talk. And so he's like, here's what you do. Take a whiteboard, like a dry erase board.
Yeah.
And if you have something to say, write it down and then show it to the band. But eventually I got sick of that. And so we just had it sitting up in the corner of my living room. And all it said was, shut the fuck up, Varrick. And if I started talking too much, bandmates would be like, hey. And I'd be like, stop talking. And that was like for the weekend we were playing at MagFest. MagFest is a 5-day affair, and we're playing Friday, and we get there Wednesday, and I love Woo Girl, and that's like one of my favorite things to do. So like I love being in a nightclub and someone's like, DJ goes, "How's everyone doing tonight?" I'm, woo! I love doing that, But I couldn't. I had to protect my voice. I had work to do. So that week, like the 3 days leading up to the 2.5 days leading up to the show, I had to like go to parties and stuff like that. And people were like, "Pat, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, how you guys doing? Having a good time?" And people were like, "Dude, are you okay?" And I'm like, "I have to be this way. I really do." So we had a game called Pat Shut the Fuck Up. And it was, if you caught me woo girling, you could look me in the eyes and say, "Pat, shut the fuck up." And I would be like, and I was not allowed to say anything back, because they were right.
Yeah.
And but the caveat was, if you ever said that, you had to come see our show.
Nice.
So you were committing to come see our show if you ever said, "Pat, shut the fuck up," which everyone who did was already planning on going anyway. But so yeah, for the album, for shows like that, it's a lot of just it's just a lot of it's a lot more physical than you'd expect, but it's all there. And like that following Sunday, well actually Greta the Goblin, we finished writing like the Thursday before the album, like the weekend we were recording. It was like one of those things I just come up with like fairly last minute, and it's a nice song. I really liked it. Everyone in the band really liked it, and we were like, we don't have it on the schedule to record, so if we have time, we'll take a shot at it.
Okay.
And one of our bandmates was going to a football game this Sunday afternoon. So Sunday, we all pile in the house. We finished the songs that we had on the docket to get done, and we had like 20 minutes left. And the song is 4 minutes long, so it's like, that already takes up 20% of the time we have, because he's like, "I gotta leave at 11. I got a hard stop at 11." So we were like, all right, what we'll do, we have everything set up. We could set it up again if we want to, and like another weekend, but like we didn't want to do that. So we're like, if we can get the take, great. If we can't, that's also fine.
Okay. Yeah.
So we did it in 2 takes, and we got what we needed, and we were able to get something out the door, and it was something that we could be proud of in a very short period of time. We literally like last little hold the cord out, wait, no one's allowed to make any noise. You have to wait till you're a couple seconds behind, and you could be like, "All right, that was really good. I think that was it,"
Yeah.
And like that little pause, stop recording, that worked. And the guitarist is like, "All right, I'm out of here. I gotta go." So if we had listened to it again and found out we really needed a third take, we would have been out of luck. We'd have to do it again later. But we didn't need it, so it was like truly last minute, and all it did was make a lot more work for the guy mastering the album. Sorry, winners.
But thank you.
Thank you. He put a lot of work into it. It was one of those things where it's like a lot of like the songwriting or the booking or anything like that, we can all kind of chip in, but like this was truly like the one thing that like only he could do. Like, no, I was like, I wish I could help. I just have no idea how to do it. So you are our only hope. So every song that we wrote and every song that we had recorded was just piling more work onto him, because the album was originally supposed to only be 5 tracks. And it turned into 8. So that was just,
Wow,
more work for him.
a lot of work. Yeah.
Because it was supposed to just be like an EP, but it turned into a short album at that point. But whatever, getting into semantics and vocabulary where it doesn't really apply to the digital era anyway. There's no such thing as an extended play because we're not listening to this stuff on records anymore. But yeah, like he put a ton of work into it, and I felt kind of bad until I like messaged him like in the middle of the night. I was like, "Dude, just first off, know that you're appreciated for the work that you're doing, and like what I don't want you to do is like become resentful because you're putting a lot of work in ways that we can't contribute." And he like messaged me back like, "I like doing this, right?" Like,
You might enjoy it.
like I have fun with this, right? The same way you have fun with all the work that you put into this stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. All right, I get it now. And he put together something together. Now, for the next album, we are hoping to, we're gonna try to see if we can kickstart some funding for that.
Okay.
So that he doesn't have to master everything.
Yeah.
We can give the recordings off to somebody and pay them and be like, can you do it? And also getting someone who's a professional gets also additional perspectives, because like you don't know what you don't know. And obviously I think the album sounds amazing. But there's probably little quirks to it that if you do this for a living, will be like, okay, well, you could have done this better, and that's only going to come with experience. So the next album, which we're hoping to have out, like, fingers crossed, like maybe like spring of next year.
Nice.
Because they say you have your whole life to make your first album, and you've got 1 year to make the second one. So but yeah, that's we already have the songs written, because like in between recording the song, we're finishing our recording session, and then the release of the album, we've written like a dozen songs, just because like it's fun, so someone will come up with some goofy idea, and it's like, what if we write a song about a barbarian bar, where all you're doing is getting in fights all the time, and it's like, that would be great. And like one of the lines is like, action surge, now they're around, like, so using action surge to drink more beer. It's a great little bit, and like stuff like that. So like we already have all the music written for the next album. It's just getting it recorded, which is a lot of work and money at this point. So but we're hoping that we can be in a studio next time. We're getting enough money through gigs and merch sales that we'll most likely be able to fund that with minimal out of our own pocket. But and who knows, we'll kickstart it. We'll see if we can get some support on that one. So
I know you already mentioned a couple of times the Kickstarter, but besides the Kickstarter, how can we or your fans support you? I mean, I cannot go to your gigs. I'm sorry, you're too far.
Right? But... yeah, that would be. I mean, if you ever find yourself in Baltimore or DC,
be sure I will track you down.
Hit us up. We'll at the very least, if we don't have a gig, we'll play D&D. In the same way, if I'm ever in the UK, if we ever play in the UK, I'll reach out to that one guy. But as far as support, we do have our Bandcamp, so if you want to buy the album there, you can. Okay. And we do have a Redbubble. Actually, I'll send you a link to our Redbubble, which does have our merch.
Oh yeah, I saw that earlier.
So let me go ahead and just get the shop, and I'll send it over to you in Zoom, and you can add that in chat if you want.
Yes, please.
All the art has been done by my wife.
Okay.
Which my wife is a fantastic illustrator.
Yeah, it's very pretty.
And it adds a lot of professionalism to it. And because my wife is a professional illustrator,
Makes sense.
And it's nice to have an artist like that in-house, as in literally in my house, as in literally on the second floor, playing Tears of the Kingdom right now while I'm Zoom call. So that right there, we're working on eventually getting like shirts that aren't just Redbubble, because if we can print them ourselves, we get more of the proceeds. But right there, about 20% of what you actually spend on merch goes to us.
Okay.
The album itself, 90% of that goes to us. The rest goes to Bandcamp.
All right. Perfect.
And then those are the two ways. Do we have any other way of making money? I don't think we do. I think that's it for now. Eventually we're gonna have like a Patreon or a coffee set up or anything like that. But right now those are the two ways, and the shirts are fun. I end up spending a lot of money on my own merch, and I wear it around like an egotistical maniac.
I mean, it's really cool. I do want a shirt, same as Matt, that she's mentioning on the chat.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys want to get a shirt, go for it. Stickers are always fun. We do have posters that we sell at our shows.
Okay.
That are like the power of friendship poster with the big sword and all that stuff. That actually made it onto a the winery that we LARPed at. The owner really likes us. So he bought a poster and actually ran because he hosts a lot of LARPs there.
Yeah.
So he actually got labels for his mead that he printed out with our poster on it.
Wow.
Which was rad.
That is
and
very
he
nice.
busts that out specifically for when LARPs are coming to visit. And even if we're not there, he says like, this is a LARP band, you should go check them out and all that stuff. And he did volunteer to have us shoot a music video down at his winery, which like getting the venue itself is already an expense, and since we don't have to pay for that,
yeah, that's
we're
true.
good. And so he just was like always, he's super cool dude. And in exchange for us using our art for the album, he gave us a lot of free wine, which is nice.
So you do, I do have a question. I opened the link tree you have on your Instagram, and you do have a link for a dice store.
What?
Is that
Hey, look at me. I have this so together, right?
I wanted to know if that was from you guys, because they're pretty.
Linktree. Oh yeah, so Dice Envy. If you go through that, if you buy dice through that link, we're affiliates.
Okay.
So if you want to get some, nerdy math rocks, if you click through that link, we get 10% of what you spend.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
All right,
so
thank
that's
you.
So yeah, but like everyone has enough dice, right?
No.
Right? I mean, what if you have one set, you can play D&D, right? That's fine, right?
That's not true.
Right? You only need one, right? Meanwhile, I got my new dice set that I haven't even used in game yet, but it's like I'm gonna see if I can show it. It's like this metal set.
It's so pretty.
It's so pretty, and I feel like it needs to be a special occasion dice.
You need to create a special character for that one.
Right, exactly. So I mean, that's a lot of dice is like you create a new character and you're like, well, I need to color coordinate,
Exactly.
So I'm gonna turn the lights on real quick because
Sure.
it's getting dark here.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that.
And there we go. I'm back.
All right, welcome back.
Oh my god, it's already 8:00.
So actually, first of all, I really appreciate all the things that you mentioned and the discount and everything, and the merch. I will get my t-shirt for sure.
Cool. Yeah, I would highly recommend the one with just the bird on it. That one prints really well. The ones with the posters, it's like coin flip whether it's going to be clear or not, because they do it, they handle everything for you, which is all very nice, but the quality control is hit or miss. So the more simple it is, I do have a couple shirts that have the more complex posters on them that look great, and I've got some that don't look so great.
Yeah, you can be sure. Yeah, I actually do like the one with the birds, so
yes,
I'll get that one.
The Bardcity birds, give us your money. We're just baby birds, we're harmless. Just leave us be. We actually have a giant banner with that bird painted on it that we bring to LARP events. Because stealing banners is a thing in that game.
Okay.
Where, will someone go to your camp, scoop up your banner? But most banners are 2 feet by 3 feet, maybe. So we made one that's 10 feet tall.
10.
So if somebody tried to, with a big wooden stand, so if somebody tried to steal it, you could see them from across the camp. And so far, no one's even tried. So
you succeeded with the intimidation.
Absolutely, exactly.
I mean, as a bard, that's the best thing you could do at first, at least.
I mean, we can't fight, so if they get past our intimidation, it's well, I guess we lost.
You can get it.
Right. But again, most people don't get that far.
I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't. So we are actually getting to the end of our interview. I really appreciate you giving us the time and all these stories and experiences. I really enjoyed it. I know the chat did too.
Yeah,
Before-
I know it's been like a lot of work getting this coordinated and all that stuff. So I'm glad we finally got it done, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just a lot of
actually, that's
fun.
how I heard about your video first, because we
Mhm.
were trying to get to the date for the interview, and you guys, I'm not sure if it was you, but you mentioned about the video.
And that's me. I'm the guy on the Instagram account. So
Okay. So before I can get to the announcements and the final part of the interview, I would like to give you some time for you to give any announcements, messages, anything you want to say. Now is your time.
No, just keep the year out with the album coming out. We are trying to see if we can get over 1,000 Spotify monthly listeners. So if you actually anything to kind of pass that along to your friends, if you know anyone who hasn't listened to the album and has a Spotify account, just be like, hey, give these guys a listen. They're a lot of fun. So that's all very well and good. So like that's pretty much all we like as far as help is concerned is just share us with your friends. If you think you know anyone who thinks that this would be funny, please just pass us along and say like, yeah, I was just chatting with this guy, or I watched a live stream with them or something like that. Other than
Yes,
that,
of course, for sure.
yeah, other than that, like just keep an ear out. You know, we got more music videos, more singles coming out. We'll have more performances. I know that doesn't do much for you guys because again, another continent. But yeah, anything like just keep an eye out for anything we decide to post or share us with your friends or anything like that. And yeah, if you want to buy a shirt, that'd be nice too.
I won't say like that. Go buy a shirt. They are very cool.
Oh, okay, cool. Like you're allowed to be a little bit more assertive. I have to be a little bit more polite, you know?
Yeah, that is true. We have to keep our characters.
Mm.
Okay, all right. So thank you again so much for
Yeah, you
giving
know,
us the time and all these experiences.
This is a great way to spend a Sunday evening. So thank you very much for having us on.
So before I get to the announcements, we in the channel have a symbolic way to saying thank you, a way to show you we appreciate the time and all the things you've shared with us. I don't know why I'm blurring. So I will send it to you directly later today or tomorrow, and if you want, I can send it through email.
Okay.
But the people watching us right now will be able to see it's an acknowledgement with the name of the band, with Bardcity, with the logo of the studio and everything. So again,
fun.
thank you so much for accepting, for coming and giving us all this time and
no
experiences.
No worries at all. This is a lot of fun. I love telling stories. So
yeah, that makes sense. Before I finish everything for today, I'll jump back to Spanish real quick so I can give the announcements.
Go for it.
Muchas gracias por haber venido, por estar con nosotros, por cerrar la segunda temporada con esa entrevista que me tenía muy, muy emocionada. Para esta semana tenemos viernes Eterno Bled, tenemos sábado de Orden del Cosadero Fulgurante, domingo de Shining Acosadero en Great Order, la tercera temporada, y tenemos Perpetuadero, ya está volviendo, ya. Cualquier otra cosa que vayamos a tener lo estaremos posteando en nuestras redes, entonces estén al pendiente y también sigan a los chicos de Bardcity. Again, thank you so much for coming, for joining us and everything. Thank you everyone that's watching, and then we'll watch the video later. Have a great evening, have a great week, and may your checks be always critical.
Bye, guys.